Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be informing you about the United States Air Force. The Air Force hasn't always been a separate branch of the military. It used to be known as the Army Air Corps before it gained independence on September 18, 1947 from the Army. The Air Corps was formed in 1914. The Wright brothers were visionaries and would build the first aircraft to propose to the Army Air Corps as a war machine to gain government funding. President Roosevelt realized that flight would occur in battle soon. They would eventually work hand in hand to provide certain skilled aircraft for combat. The early stages of aircrafts cost several pilots lives and limbs. Lieutenant Thomas became the first military officer in air service to die from a plane crash. Although some pilots like General Arnold would survive these terrors, the first air battle was in 1916. Pancho Villa forces had invaded Colombia and killed U.S. soldiers and citizens. It is known as the Mexican Expedition. Although it failed miserably because of lack of technology and mountainous territory of Mexico, the World War that took over in Europe nations caused other nations' air power to develop. The U.S. lagged far behind European nations' advanced air powers because they had no frontline planes, although they had plenty of pilots to fly the planes. So over 200 American pilots joined the Allied French Aviation Service and flew the Lafayette Escadrille, which achieved great success and shot down 57 German planes and only suffered 9 losses. The first pilots would experiment dropping homemade bombs from the bottom of their airplanes. Although the U.S. government still didn't believe in air superiority or a separate Air Force branch, U.S. military leaders would use the media to their advantage during these years. They would promote aircrafts and a separate air service as what we needed to become the world's greatest military. Assistant Chief Billy Mitchell was a strong separate Air Force advocate that would be later court-martialed for showing an aircraft bombing and sinking Navy ships in 1920. The Navy and Army saw their roles threatened. In budget cuts, he became the marked man. He would later be separated from the Air Corps because of his allegations to separate the Army and Air Corps, but inspired more young leaders to continue trying. This and World War II led to the advancements of the U.S. aircraft. Hap Arnold contended with fears that if the U.S. wasn't careful enough, he believed that Hitler's forces would overcome the Army Air Force easily. Hap Arnold became the Caesar of aircraft manufacturers in the U.S. He convinced manufacturers to build the new planes in the South. The Battle of St. Michael in 1918, when the U.S. broke through Germany's front lines, and the atomic bombing that Army Air Corps used on Japan on August 6, 1945, ultimately opened up the whole world on the power of air superiority and pushed the Army Air Corps to become its own separate branch known as the Air Force. The mission of the branch is to fly, fight, and win in space and cyberspace. Presently, it is the number one air power in the world. Its future goals is to maintain air superiority, maintain the environment, and to continue excelling throughout time. Thanks.